Good afternoon, Britannia, and hello to the rest of the world. Welcome to Tousi TV, your global news channel. This story actually comes to us from Daily Mail, of all places. Daily Mail have finally became the first major news outlet in the United Kingdom to cover what this channel has been going through over the last couple of months with the Metropolitan Police. Some of you are already familiar with the whole saga, but we're going to go through that. And the Met have finally been forced to publicly acknowledge and apologise, obviously saying they regret the incident, isolated incident, when there's somebody from inside the Metropolitan Police leaked the report with our private information, mine, Niak Gorbani and Mark Burbuck. And the acknowledgement is important, but at the same time, we do know that the person has been arrested by the police themselves, and his contract has been terminated. He was a contractor as part of the police. I did double check to see if it was a cleaner. He wasn't a cleaner, but so it could have been anybody, security guard. But we are going to go through this, see what the Mail have actually covered. As you can see, they've also included Niak Orbani's picture on the thumbnail. The Met Police has put lives of Iranian dissidents at risk after staff member posts personal details of 3 men online. So just a quick summary. A few months ago, I think it was the end of November, we were at another Islamist protest. Niak and Mark were counter-protesting. I was there as Tousi TV to report. During that march, obviously, the police were doing their own nonsense and threatening everybody else. But following that, the report was actually leaked about my name and Niak's name and Mark's name. The problem with that was that when it comes to Mark, it's the principle that matters. That's important. That if they can leak something like that, what else can they do? It's about the trust. But when it came to Niak and myself, they put our lives and our families' lives at risk. So the Daily Mail actually covered this quite well because they did their own investigation, find out exactly what's happened. They also have a quote statement from the police. Niak's real full name was published, which means that his father in Iran got into trouble. When it comes to my situation, because the report was false about my role on the day, they were saying I was antagonizing and attacking and basically provoking the Palestinian supporters, then my dad had to also go into hiding even more in Iran. So this is what they focused on. The Met Police has put lives of Iranian dissidents at risk. The disgraceful leak from within the Metropolitan Police, and a civilian contractor inside the force allegedly posted a photograph of a police field report on social media. A man has since been arrested by the police on suspicion of a computer misuse offenses, right? So that's the charge. That's the actual allegation. But we have also filed a complaint, myself and Niak, and Mark is about to do it as well, against the Met Police in general because of negligence. Because one main issue is about the responsibility coming from the Metropolitan Police. One main issue, I mean, in terms of their recruitment and even their contracts and how they maintain their own security inside the police stations. But obviously, when it comes to the specific person who did this, that's a whole different case. Anyway, my issue and Niak and Mark's issue is with the Met Police in general, not necessarily with the actual person. The person obviously has been arrested. Hopefully we're going to keep pushing for a full justice. Now, shortly after the data breach, a member of Mr. Rouhani's family was detained in Iran and interrogated by the Islamic Revolutionary Guard, the IRGC. His brother's passport was also confiscated. Speaking to the Mail, Mr. Rouhani, an exiled activist opposed to the IRGC, said, "The Islamic Republic has been seeking my arrests and forced return to Iran for years. I have been repeatedly subject to death threats in the UK. Unfortunately, in the UK, my personal details have been leaked. It is truly disgraceful." So, as you can tell, obviously his names and everything. A lot of the Iranians that you would meet, the names might not be the names that they would have in the system back in Iran for obvious reasons. If you release the full name or date of birth, things like that, obviously it's easier to find out who you are. Mr. Tousi has previously received death threats, the Daily Mail says. He added that his father, who lives in Tehran, has been forced to go into hiding even more following the data breach. Mr. Robani and Mr. Tousi have lodged a formal complaint with the Metropolitan Police. And also, obviously, we have Mark Burberg, a leading member of Our Fight UK, a group campaigning against anti-Semitism and in solidarity with Israel, is also planning to make a complaint. So obviously, we've spoken to Mark, he's about to do that as well. Now, all this resulted to obviously the Met Police being forced to actually release a statement. Spokesperson said it is hugely regrettable that information obtained from internal police systems was shared online. So much regret coming from the police. A civilian contractor working for the Met was arrested on suspicion of computer misuse offences within days. He has been bailed while the investigation into him continues. I'm not really sure what sort of investigation takes weeks and months when you know exactly what's happened. But again, the Met Police are trying to shift the blame by saying, hey, it wasn't us, it was a contractor that was working for us. You hired him. You were the one who signed the contract. You were the ones who were supposed to be vetting his background. That's basic common sense. But of course that didn't happen, because I'm guessing they were focusing on other priorities when it comes to signing these contracts. And right now, they think that if they just go around and say, well, it wasn't really us, it was just a contractor, but he was in the building. He had access to the computers. It's not easy to do that. I can't just walk into the police station saying, well, I'm a contractor now. I'm a civilian. Can I just see your computers and take pictures of them? Where were the other people? Where were the actual official employees of the Met who were supposed to be looking after their own computers? What's the situation here? Did he take a picture of someone else's computer? Did he have his own computer? Because if he has his own equipment inside the police station, he's basically as important as an official Met Police employee. If you have your own computer, you have your own login details and everything else. I don't really care if you're a contractor or a full-time employee. You have access to the whole thing now. You have access to the system, right? So you should be treated like a full-time employee in terms of the responsibility, which means goes back to the Met Police as the main boss of the person. If he didn't have his own equipment, if he basically just went around and found inside the police station, found an official Met Police employee's computer, how did he do that? Where was the actual employee? You can't just leave your computer and logged in. You have to basically log out your computer if you want to go to the toilet, if you want to go for a smoke break or whatever else. Did they not see what he was doing? There are two scenarios that's basically common sense in terms of what might have allegedly happened. Now, if this sort of report could get leaked, and again, it's mostly, again, when we talk about Mark Burberg, it's the principle. It's about our trust and relationship between civilians and the police. But as in, the point is, even though Mark Burberg's life is not at risk in terms of, his name being published in the report, that's not the point, because it's about the principle that it could have been worse. Next time could be worse. But when it comes to myself and Niak, well, that did escalate things, especially when it comes to our families in Iran. That's the problem. And people don't understand how it works. As I said, a lot of the Iranians won't have their own names. Like Niak has a different name in terms of full name, date of birth. If the Iranian regime find out the actual date of birth and the full name, then they can actually find out who he is and who the family is and everybody else. In Iran, everybody works around the system. That's why even if they want to have access to the internet, they use like 3 or 4 VPNs so that the state won't have any information about who they are. But it's not really about their acknowledgement saying it's regretful. And they're regretful, and the apology, and obviously they also apologized to me in the email that I showed you guys a couple of weeks back. The problem we have is that I never thought I would ever say this, but thank you to the Daily Mail. I know, I've said it for the first time ever. Thank you to the Daily Mail and Sabrina, who was a journalist who actually wrote this, and then she came to me with the actual story saying, do you have any statement and everything else? I gave her what my side of the story as well, because Daily Mail, as a major news outlet, Obviously, they have their lawyers. They have to go through the checks and everything else. They check with the police. They got the story. It's real. They knew that. The rest of the mainstream media outlets, print and broadcast, are still silent. GB News have known about this for about 2-3 months. GB News don't want to touch this story. I don't really expect the BBC News to talk about this. Yeah, it's the BBC. But the other channels, absolutely nothing. It's as fascinating. Some people think they know their VPNs. They can't even spell VPNs. James says VIP doesn't protect you. It's not VIP, it's VPN. If you know how to spell it, you know how it works. It doesn't protect you. Why are you uneducated? So you don't understand how VPNs works. If you use 3 or 4 VPNs at the same time on top of each other to go through multiple networks, then yes, you are protected. If you use one VPN, it doesn't necessarily fully protect you. It protects your basic data privacy when it comes to companies and marketing companies. But you can easily use multiple tiers of VPNs at the same time. That's how people in China, Iran, and Russia doing it every single day, including people I know in Iran. And yes, they are fully protected. I can assure you, they are fully protected until the Met Police obviously do a bit of a whoopsie. And no, it's not VIP, it's VPN. It's pronounced VPN, it's spelled VPN. Okay. Okay, someone said, Everest says that's big of you, Tousi, to thank Daily Mail. I never thought in my life I would ever thank Daily Mail. The thing is, you have good journalists in each newspaper and bad journalists, and the actual editorial part. Sabrina is a good journalist and works for the Mail, and she actually used to work for Guido Fawkes. She was part of Team Guido. And so it's, sometimes they do a good job. But I have been very critical of Daily Mail, obviously, as you guys know, especially the way they have been treating and covering stories around Tommy. Anyway. Okay, what's happening with the super chat people? Katie first. Thank you, Katie, saying they should take the knee to you and Niak. Well, that will be a little bit too much. There's no need for that. No, absolutely not. What they have to do is to remember who pays their salaries and who is their actual boss. But, they don't care. Now, going back to some other people, we got Heather saying, did someone pay for info leak? Food for thought. I don't know. It's difficult to speculate. I got my own theories, and it's not really a crazy theory. It's nothing like it's actually, it's kind of like downplaying it. There were a number of people who would have probably thought, oh, we are helping Maya, for example, by leaking this. I don't know. It's just a stupid mentality. But again, my problem is not necessarily just the person who leaked it. The person has been arrested, although on bail. It's the police. You were the boss. You were responsible for looking after the data, you idiots. Now, if a contractor could have access to that and could have access to other things, and if the contractor, for example, hates someone, a civilian, they could have access to full record of them, and they could also take that home. They could take pictures of it, they could print it, they could do whatever they want. My problem is the police. It's the principle that's important. As I said, when it comes to the case of Mark Burberg, his life is not necessarily at risk by his name being mentioned. It's the principle. He's still outraged because it's the principle that the police shouldn't do that. Our case, obviously, mine and Niak is different because actually it did put the lives of our family at risk, which is a bigger problem. I mean, it's not necessarily my life because my life is already at risk anyway. But it's about all our loved ones in our life. Start a GoFundMe for solicitor fees to sue the Mets. Thank you. No, but we don't do that on Tousi TV. We don't believe in raising money and fundraising or crowdfunding. We have our lawyers anyway. They're already on top of this. But yeah, we filed a complaint. We're waiting for the investigation to finish. Then we're going to obviously take it to the next level. But no, I don't really want to use these sort of opportunities to do crowdfunding. Or I know some people, they have to, and it's important. And I'm not against fundraising or crowdfunding, but it's just not in my nature. I don't really do that. We have a business here, and obviously we have our funds for the police. Frankie, thank you so much, saying I worked for the police in a civilian role and access to the police PNC. But all our inquiries were vetted internally. Each time you logged on, you had an electronic trail. Yes, so as far as I kind of know, the thing is, well, when they showed me the actual report, it was printed of the actual leaked version. I don't know. I've also kind of lost it. I need to get the copy again from the police. I don't know where I put it. It kind of looked like, I don't know. I need to check with Niak and Mark. They still have the copy. It kind of looked like it was, the picture was taken from a phone, on a phone, from the screen, on the screen, basically, not necessarily. So it will be difficult. I mean, Frank is still right, because if the person had access to the computer, still typed in the name, my name or Niak or Mark's, so that page still came up anyway, whether he printed it or took a picture on his phone, it's still, the electronic trail is there, that somebody searched this name, right? And I guess that's how they found him. That's how they managed to find out who it was pretty quickly, which is quite impressive. So, but somebody did actually say, Katie says contractors should have restricted access. Well, I would assume they do, right? To be fair, like the report about us that was leaked, it wasn't necessarily like as sensitive as, I don't know, the Prime Minister's diet or health records or something like that, in terms of from the perspective of the police, let's just say. They didn't realize that leaking certain information, including full name, date of birth of Niak, for example, would put his family's life at risk. Idiots didn't think about that, did they? Another super chat from Canada saying, I'm sorry your father had to go into hiding. Stay safe. To be fair, he's kind of used to it now. Yeah, it's just part of life being in the Islamic occupation, I guess. Barry says, hi Maya, I just got on. I'm wondering if the apology was one of the automated generic BS on headed paper. No, it was they had to manually respond, obviously, to the Daily Mail as well, as that usually is the way with them. No, because it was an actual person from the police who responded directly. They hate apologizing for their constant mistakes. So that's the thing. So that right now they would be happy to apologize because they're not taking responsibility. They are shifting the blame onto a civilian contractor, right? They're saying, it wasn't us. It was a contract. Well, you hired the contractor. Check your vetting team. Insane. Anyway, it happens with medical records to private confidential info leaks all the time. Yeah, there have been a lot of mistakes. Well, we've had mistakes. The NHS had a number of scandals over the last 20 years, remember? Tousi TV is the news, mainstream media is dead. They are dying, absolutely. Colin says, have you told them to shove their phony apology up the kazoo? It was deliberate. I mean, the thing is, I can't personally, from my capacity, I can't directly accuse them that it was deliberate. You guys can think that. I couldn't possibly comment. But I give the benefit of the doubt that some idiot was in there with access and did it. Not necessarily an order from the top. That would be a conspiracy theory. I don't think Mark Rowley ordered someone to leak that. That would be a little bit... it's not worth it. I'm not that important for them to take that gamble and risk, right? There are more important people than me to target like that. Another one we have... I'm surprised that the police and Islamists are so close, considering the Islamists hate pork. Oink, oink. To be fair, when you go to the segregated communities and ghettos, the police are hated by the Islamic side. That's why the police tend to then hire police officers from the Islamic community, so that they were like, hey, look, the police officer looks like you, he's also brown, listen to him. They still don't listen to him. It's stupid. Community outreach. Brr. Idiots. Maya, didn't they just cancel his contract, or police have an employee contract? Yes, so that was when they got in touch with me, which we did a report on that. I showed you the email from the police a few weeks ago. They said when the person was arrested, they also terminated his contract immediately, which again, at the time, they didn't say he was a contractor. But I was like, if you could manage to terminate his contract quickly instead of suspending him, I was like, he's a contractor, isn't it? I had a feeling it was a contractor until they've now obviously confirmed that as well. Donna says, James talking crap. Who's James? Is that a James in the live chat? James, are you talking crap? Let's see if I can find the James talking crap. What's this? Is that it? James, yes, I found him. If you truly appreciate our laws and policies, then stop causing trouble in our country. If you disagree with them, you are free to leave. I don't think James knows what we're talking about. James, are you okay? You feeling all right? I think James might be a bit confused. Yeah. So no one's causing trouble, and we are the ones actually respecting the rule of law. Policies shouldn't really be appreciated. That the last bit makes no sense. If you truly appreciate our policies, nobody in any country should appreciate policies, government policies, randomly. The rule of law is one thing, but for example, if Keir Starmer, actually remember when Michael Gove, Tory minister, came out a few years ago and banned plastic straws and introduced paper straws, which I had a panic attack when that happened. Do not appreciate that policy. That's a terrible policy. Have you seen the paper straws in McDonald's? It's not good. Very bad. So no, absolutely not. James is wrong. But yes, in terms of rule of law, absolutely. Don't cause trouble. Don't be a criminal. But also don't be an idiot like James. Be smarter than James. All right. So where are we with you guys? Also, I have a feeling James is not actually called James in real life. I've got my own conspiracy theory about that. Frankie, thank you, saying only certain departments have access, i.e. detention officers, comms, and PCSO. In terms of, the access you mentioned, Frankie, in terms of the contractors. Well, fair enough. It depends really. All right. Where are we with the rest of you guys? And it says Tommy is the UK's Nelson Mandela. Tommy's not a terrorist, no. Although there are terrorism charges against Tommy, so and that's the closest he could come to Nelson. Also, when he goes to Spain and gets suntanned, then technically gets closer to Nelson. Anyway, what are we with you guys? I have plastic straws I carry with them when I go out, not using straws. Well, the new president of the United States is bringing back plastic straws. Go on the Donald. Anyway, yes, Pete says Trump has cancelled paper straws. Best president ever. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, this was the latest update. Special thank you again. I cannot believe I'm saying it. Special thank you to the Daily Mail for covering this, and shame on GB News and others who've known about this for about 2-3 months, and they've said they refuse to talk about it because they will be too scared to rock the boats. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Tousi, and we are the media.